Muchas gracias por continuar con nosotros en Foro Global. En tu pantalla estaba la respuesta a la trivia de la noche. Es momento de hacer un enlace Skype con Mike Murphy. Él es reportero de tecnología para Quartz. Se especializa en temas de robots y máquinas del futuro. Él es egresado de la Escuela Medill de Periodismo de la Universidad Northwestern en Chicago y de la Universidad de Pensilvania. Mike, welcome to Foro Global. Thank you for these minutes.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
We've been following the scandal of Facebook and Cambridge Analytica. And we were also wondering what you wonder in your own piece, on the piece that you wrote for Quartz. Where in the world is Mark Zuckerberg? Mark Zuckerberg has always been a very public persona. He's always been, he was recently in Harvard going for his degree, and then he posted things about his opinions on politics and everything. But regarding this scandal, where in the world is he? That's what you're asking yourself in the piece for Quartz. Why is he hiding? Is he hiding this time?
I mean, it definitely seemed that way. The news broke on Friday from Facebook itself about the connections of Cambridge Analytica, who, as you can see here, worked with the Trump campaign to run part of their data and their advertising. Facebook themselves noted that they, for 2 years, have known about a potential breach in the data that Cambridge Analytica had, where it came from, whether they actually had access to be using that data. Over the weekend, we saw different executives from Facebook giving different reasons and different levels of apology for what had happened. But Zuckerberg himself and Sheryl Sandberg, the COO, had not said anything. And up until about 3 hours ago, that had remained the case. The company's stock had lost about $40 billion in value. There had been thousands of stories written about this and very many people complaining that now is the time to leave Facebook. But about 3 hours ago, Zuckerberg finally put out a post on his personal Facebook page, time to a press release about what the company is going to do. But it took almost, 5 days for him to actually say something?
Do you think it's going to be enough? Facebook has always tried to respond to several criticisms because of fake news, and he's been trying along all the offices of Facebook around the world to team up with journalists for initiative for stopping this kind of fake news. What do you think is going to be doing now Zuckerberg with this scandal? Because here we're talking about the stealing of personal data from this huge platform that has over 2 billion users around the world. Do you think that Mark Zuckerberg will find a way to turn this around and to make people not leaving Facebook?
I think it's highly likely that people are going to probably stay on Facebook regardless of this, in the majority, because there's nothing like Facebook. Mm-hmm. There are no other social networks that have this size, the scale. There's no other network like this that your grandmother, your employer, your best friend, and your wife are all on. So there's not really anywhere for anyone to go. That being said, Zuckerberg has said that there will be some changes moving forward. So a lot of the apps that I wrote about this as well yesterday for Quartz, there are other apps that have done the exact same thing that Cambridge Analytica have done, that have been able to access your data over the years. You might have signed up to some quiz, or you might log into Spotify using your Facebook account. It's actually quite hard to find what those apps are harvesting and to tell them not to. So Zuckerberg said in his post today that they're working on tools to make that much easier to find and should be at the top of users' news feeds in the near future.
Are people talking of more regulation regarding social media in the U.S.? I heard that Zuckerberg he went to the U.S. Senate last year, to special commission on this. Is there an ongoing public debate, a national debate on what to do with social media, how to regulate it better for protecting the data of billions of users?
Absolutely. There are multiple cases across the world of Facebook kind of facing regulation now. In the UK, Parliament has requested that Mark Zuckerberg come speak. Members of the US Senate have done similarly. And Quartz heard a story today speaking to someone who used to work for the FTC about whether an agreement that Facebook reached with the FTC back in, I believe it was 2011, over this exact issue, over whether they are breaching trust with the way that they're giving data to other companies that are involved in advertising or other things like that. If they've been proven to actually done something wrong and broken that agreement they had with the FTC, there almost certainly would be regulations, not just for Facebook, but for this entire digital advertising industry.
That's digital advertising. What about political campaigns? You will have another midterm elections in November, and of course the focus of attention is going to be again in social media, specifically in Facebook, the platforms of the candidates, the fake news, and etc. How do you think the environment is going to be from now till November?
It'll be really interesting to see whether there will actually be any change, at least in the US, when it comes to political advertising on Facebook. I can see other countries where advertising around elections is very restricted by the government. I can see there being changes that they request in those countries for Facebook. But the US has kind of always had, partially because of the way that we view free speech, kind of, not free for all, but like definitely more freedom for this sort of advertising, at least so far in digital advertising. I suspect that given that the election process has already kind of started for a lot of people, the campaign processes have already started, it'll be interesting to see if that ball can stop to be rolling by the time of the midterm elections. But I have the feeling that any real change would probably occur by the 2020 election.
Mike Murphy, thank you so much for these minutes for Foro Global. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
No problem.
Muchas gracias por habernos acompañado esta noche en Foro Global. Soy Genaro Lozano, te invito a que continúes con mi compañero Eric Camacho y las noticias. Yo te espero mañana en punto de las 11 de la noche para una nueva emisión de Foro Global. Por lo pronto, muy buenas noches, descansa.